Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto is your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But before we get started, first of all, we have a great guest, a guest who confronted Cory Booker back in Atlanta during the debates. And we're going to bring a little bit of that. We're going to bring an extensive interview with her over some very important issues related to schools, etc. This is one that you want to see. But before getting started, over the last few days or maybe a couple of weeks, I've been hitting President Obama pretty hard for some of the statements that he's been made trying to undermine progressives. And I think it sort of upset a whole lot of people. I want to get something straight that I think we, as all of us, as a system, as a community, as a people, as a citizenry, need to really get into the fold. And that is to say this. We must not, 1, worship personalities. 2, consider personalities infallible. 3, believe that somehow these personalities have a distinct interest in any of us as individuals. So the answer to that is they don't. Most of the times they don't even know we exist. We are there to adore them and try to get something that we project onto them. It is imperative. One of the things that I've learned as I've aged into the political sphere is that we do not. One of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to fall prey into believing that whatever these people say is godly, whatever these people say is divine, whatever these people say is really has a care for us as individuals, as opposed to somewhat of a bit more. So I want to get that out into the fold, and I need to get that out into the fold for us to understand. We must understand that these people, that many times we fight each other about, that many times we fight friends and family and everybody else about, the totality of what they're doing has little to do with us. And I think if we grasp that, I think if we understand that these people that we're putting our necks out for, we're not doing it for them, we're not doing it for a liking of them, but we're doing it for the better good of all of us. Whether you be a Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, baby boomer, or whomever you are, we should not fall for personalities. We should fall for policies. And when we fall for policies, we should understand what they mean and how they will impact us as individuals. I want to caution us all. That falling for personalities creates a problem, because when that personality falls, many times it leaves us wondering, where are we? What's next? And that is the one place none of us should want to be. So in that light, what I want to start about is, again, I want to continue on my issue with President Obama and what he had said. But before I go there, before I go to President Obama, and we're going to get to Kandice Webber and Houston, her confronting Cory Booker in a second, but I want to hit this first. There was a little piece that I saw on MSNBC that I think is prescient and it's important. It is, what do we really want to win? Does the DNC really want to win big, or do they just want to get a win so that power is maintained? A big win means progressives are going to be out there voting all over. A big win means many progressives are coming into the fold. A big win means that we are going to finally start getting the policies that we want. Is that what you want? I tell you what, one of the reporters asked the prescient question today, and I want you to listen to this. Why aren't we doing what we are supposed to do to win? Check this out.
Then let's talk media strategy. Jonathan, across the board, the candidates keep trying to prove that they are the ones who can beat Donald Trump. Then with all of the resources available, why is it that they spend so much time and money on these highly produced long-form television ads rather than creating real-time, rapid response fact checkers zoned in on the president's Twitter, where real-time, day in and day out, they can fact check the president and show the American people why they're more qualified than he is, or at the very least, stop the spreading of misinformation?
Well, they absolutely should be doing that, and the DNC should be doing it. It blows me away that the DNC is not fact-checking him every day and responding to him every day. You could make an argument that the candidates need to look higher and to explain what they would do for the American people, not just prosecute the case against Trump.
That little statement there says a whole lot. And what it says is, where is the DNC in backstopping all the crap that is starting to metastasize in people's minds right now? Why aren't they pushing back why don't they have an alert team? Every time, we should have people on Facebook, people on Twitter, everywhere, monitoring all the signals that are being sent to people on the right, people on the left, and everywhere, so that for every message that comes out, it can be counteracted. It is what Donald Trump did to win to actually get an impossible electoral win. He had micro-targeted using all the different platforms available. And we, as the DNC, that is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. But the question has to be asked, do we really want to win as big as we expected, or as we are supposed to win, and as we are ready to win? Do we really want it, or don't we really want it? Okay, I want to move on to something else now. On my KPFT show earlier this week, I sort of said, maybe I need to give an apology. I want to play this, and then I'll take it on the other side. I have an apology first. I think I have an apology, and I'm not sure yet. I have to do some more reading. But Common Dreams today reported, and Politico today reported, that President Barack Obama implied that if Bernie Sanders took off in the polls, that he would have to get involved to ensure that Bernie Sanders was not the nominee of the Democratic Party. For those of you, let me take my host hat off for a minute. You know that I was a delegate in Philadelphia for Bernie Sanders, but I'm going to put my host hat back on. If Barack Obama if those news reports are true, that President Barack Obama, the person I voted for twice, the person I campaigned and worked hard twice, the person that I said, I believe that hope and change is what America really needed. Not only I believed it, I live it. We live it. We believe in hope and change. That's why Francisco is out there doing the work he's doing, because we believe in change. We believe in doing the things that need to be done. If he really said that, the notion of being captured by the plutocracy, by the oligarchy, by the corporatocracy would have been complete. When a lot of my very young supporters would tell me, Egberto, you are just too much in support of this guy, but he is really a corporatist as well. And I'm like, no, he's playing the game. You have to play the game a certain way to get what you want to get done. But if this guy was really going to go out of his way to stop Bernie because he had too many progressive values, if he was really out to stop, as the article also states, Elizabeth Warren, Washington, we have a problem. So I am not going to quite give my apology to my young brothers and sisters who told me, Egberto, we have to drop cold turkey. I'm going to wait. So brothers and sisters, if for some reason I was wrong, I'm going to come on these airwaves and tell you, sorry, I apologize. But for what it's worth, I think we're all making up for it right now. Now, earlier, for those of you that are just coming, the first thing I want to remind you is to please go ahead and share these shows. We need you desperately to share the shows. That is how we ensure new messages get into the fold. That is how we ensure new messages get into the fold. And not only that, for what the DNC is not doing, for what the media is doing and misrepresenting, Medicare for All misrepresented, AOC misrepresenting, all these things that concern us. That is our purpose in life, to set the record straight. Now, with regards to Obama, I'm saying let's follow Obama. Let's follow Obama. But let's not follow Obama 2020 or 2019. Let's follow Obama 2008. That's the Obama that we want to follow. That is the Obama that will win the different types of policies that we stand for. So here we go. I want to remind you in detail what the old Obama thought we should do as progressives, and I want you to know that this is what we will continue to do. This is what I hope all of us that are listening to our voices and that are sharing these programs. And I ask again, please share this, because it is very important that we get the message out beyond what the mainstream media is doing to attempt to temper a progressive win. But remember the old Obama.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person, or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Change will not come if we wait for some other person. Change will not come if we wait for some other person, or if we wait for some other time, or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Change will not come if we wait for some other person, or if we wait for some other time. Change will not come if we wait for some other person, or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Change will not come if we wait for some other person, or if we wait for some other time.
I wanted so badly to go ahead and constantly repeat that message. So I went ahead and I cropped it. I went ahead and I repeated it over and over again, because I want to remind people what it was all about. And I want you to read what I wrote an article that corresponded to this. Remember, Obama did great things. It was great that Obama won, because Obama made available thoughts to people that everybody in this country can be what they wanted to be, and everybody in this country can aspire to be the highest office on the land, the President of the United States. But he also, in his old age now, well, not old age because he's my age, but in his years now, he's also proven that every single person, if they don't watch themselves closely, they can incrementally become wards of the oligarchy, wards of the plutocracy, wards of the corporatocracy. And it seems like $400,000 per speech and great book deals mean that you're in a different class. And unlike saying I'm in a class and what I intend to do is use my status, use my privilege to make things better for others, we are saying let's not do anything that affect those on top. Let's just do things slowly. Slowly. Forget about 80% of Americans who cannot handle a $400 bill. So we want to go slowly. We don't want Medicare for All to ensure they can be taken care of no matter what. We don't want a Green New Deal that is going to clean up and employ people and clean up those areas that nobody wants to clean up now. We don't want to have childcare to ensure that others can work who would normally be unable to work because childcare is more than the employment, the wages they can make. We don't want We don't want to have policies that pay off student loans, even though paying off student loans will expand the economy as more people buy homes, cars, etc. But you know what? The bankers are not going to fare very well because that guaranteed interest that they're getting from all those loans are no longer there. Folks, if you're just joining us, please share. People need to hear this. But we're going to go ahead and get started with Kandice Webber, one of Houston's most prolific activists here in town. She's going to talk about her encounter with Cory Booker, as well as some other great things. So let's get busy with that. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. Today, I am blessed to be with Houston's activist of activists, and that is the one and only Kandice Webber. Kandice, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, let me tell you, Kandice, I was perusing my Facebook thread, and of course you are one of the ones that come up on my thread all of the times, and I noticed you were out there creating a little bit of trouble in Atlanta, Georgia at that Democratic debate. Tell me a little bit about what were you doing out there?
So I am one of the original Black women for Warren 100, which was a phenomenal process. Angela Peoples is the leader of this movement. And it is movement. And she went through this phenomenal process, which really got my attention. Traveled all over the country to meet with Black women and discuss what we are looking for in our next presidential candidate. There was this huge survey that went out. We had face-to-face meet and greets, and like I said, it was nationwide. And then we calculated data. Actually, I say we, but Angela and some other women that work very closely on the steering committee calculated data, and Elizabeth Warren came out to be our winner, like who really embodied all of the different things that we are looking for. And first of all, number one principle was we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for accountability, true accountability. And she definitely embodies that. So we did a big rally at Clark University. Ayanna Priestley, also who came out in strong support of Elizabeth Warren, did a speech there, and Angela spoke, and then we had Elizabeth Warren come up and do a phenomenal, like when I tell you, one of the best speeches I've ever heard. And I'm a serious critiquer when it comes to public speaking.
That I know.
She really knocked it out of the park. I could not be happier with our decision to support Elizabeth Warren. And there were lots of different things that were really important to us as Black women. We're not a monolith, right? My thing is education. I swing big for education, and if you don't talk the right talk when it comes to education, I will do everything I can to highlight how inadequate you are.
Let me break you right there because our audience need to know or learn a little bit more about who you are. A few months ago, there were some issues in Houston, Texas, with our own board, and I think our board was sort of carousing a bit with charter schools. Why don't you tell us that story and how it devolved?
Right. So actually, it's been, I remember the date. It was April 24, 2018. It was a life-changing day for me. Our school board, HIC school board, the trustees were looking at closing 10 Black and brown schools in HIC and chartering them, or not closing, but chartering them off to a nonprofit. Yes, I use air quotes because that's not really.
We understand
true.
exactly.
Yeah. About to charter off 10 of our schools, all Black and brown. And we in the community, parents, students, teachers, community activists, we all got together and we were just like, no, separate but equal is not a real thing. We've already fought that fight. And, if we have to keep fighting it, shame on you, but we're willing to do that. So we all showed up at the school board meeting. It got the school board trustees, as we've come to know all too well, did not handle our pushback well at all. I ended up getting arrested with a fellow activist. And actually that young lady saved me from being horribly assaulted by a police officer.
We saw the videos.
Some parents got dragged out of the meeting. It was chaos. But those schools did not get chartered off that night, and we've continued that fight. And now we're facing the takeover of the TEA coming in and taking over our entire school district.
This is national, so tell us what that means.
So there are two bills that were voted into law here in Texas Ledge: House Bill 1842, Senate Bill 1882. These bills actually gave the Texas Education Agency the authority to come in and sanction school districts, and this is all over the state of Texas. So just because it's happening here in Houston does not mean it won't be happening right down the street from you in a little bit. It gave the TEA the authority to place heavy sanctions on school districts based on low performance. And this is all based on high stakes testing. So the way the bills work, if your school is deemed low performing and is put on the improvement required list for 5 years or greater, then the TEA can come in and either close that school, or they can take complete control over your democratically elected school board, which is problematic because for a number of reasons. One, the TEA, no government agency should ever supersede the will of the people and should never have the power to remove our democratic process. And that is exactly what House Bill 1842 and Senate Bill 1882 does. That is un-American, it's unpatriotic, it is untoward of democracy, right? So this type of stuff happens in non-democratic governments. You don't.
And it also tends to happen in black and brown communities.
It is
You
always.
yes.
It is always black and brown communities. I do a lot of research. I spend hours upon hours every single week doing research. I've yet to come across a predominantly white or affluent
Not even in
school
Appalachia.
district.
Not even in
Not in-
Appalachia.
Not even in Appalachia. Exactly. I have yet to see a white school board be taken over. This is always in black and brown communities, and it is nationwide. So House Bill 1842, Senate Bill 1882 are the laws that make it legal here in Texas. There are different laws all over the country that give people the authority to over supersede the will of the people, and that is a shame, right? So ultimately, school choice is a scam, and it's kind of like this Trojan horse that. And this is not. Let me also say, this is not a Republican voodoo trick, right? No disrespect to people that practice voodoo, but this is not a Republican Trojan horse.
Right.
This is a bipartisan effort that is made by neoliberals, the wealthy elitists, to take away the democratic control of our school board, and also opens them up to, it's like black and brown kids are a new commodity.
Exactly. I want to take the discussion there a little bit further, because that you've hit the nail on the head. It has this has everything to do with establishment, nothing to do with parties proper. But
right.
we can go there a little bit after. Where I want to segue into, first of all, I think you should let us know about that TEA has now taken control of the HISD, correct?
So yes. Well, they're positioning themselves right now. You know, it's kind of like battle formations, actually, is what they're doing. So they're having community meetings right now, where I'm telling you guys, AJ Craybill is the one that's doing these meetings. He has no answers, and that is frustrating. He continues to say that he's coming to listen to the concerns of the community, and that is frustrating in itself, because for years and years and years, we have been sounding the alarm and saying things are not right here in black and brown communities. Things are not right. We are not being equitably funded for special education. Things are not right. We're not being equitably funded for our sped kids. I mean, there is a huge investigation that was done by the U.S. Department of Education under Betsy DeVos let me say, where the Texas Education Agency was actually found guilty of intentionally underfunding special education
Yes.
across the entire
By a whole
state
lot, yes.
by a whole lot, right?
Yes.
So they actually were putting illegal benchmarks on school districts. 8.5% of them were the amount of special ed kids that could be serviced
The cap, yeah.
by your individual school district. If you service more than 8.5%, it was made very clear that those were the school districts that would be heavily audited, and TEA was pretty much going to stay in those administrators' lives. And and at just Wheatley High School, one of the schools that they're using to justify this takeover, the special education rate fluctuated between 17% and 21% between 2013 and 2018. So it's not hard to see why Wheatley would be targeted. And then on top of that, Wheatley is also a predominantly Black and brown and
School,
English
right.
language learner school.
Right,
Right. So
right.
you add up all of that. State of Texas definitely doesn't want to keep paying to educate those kids.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's segue to the Democratic debate. We know that there is a particular candidate out there that has been working specifically with Republicans, his Republican governor back in New Jersey, to establish
Yes.
these charter schools, which just means private schools, which means schools that use bodies of people in order to enrich a few. Tell us about the confrontation, and what I'm going to do is I'll have a B-roll with some of the video that you guys took out there, because that is what got me. I contacted one of your fellow activists and said, "Hey, guy, great work. I got to see that. I got to talk to you guys."
Yeah,
Tell us a
yeah.
little bit about that.
So, Cory Booker not getting my votes because education first, right? So Cory Booker has been working with the neoliberals and privatizers to charter Newark school districts. I am actually a member of a national coalition, Journey for Justice, so I get an opportunity weekly to discuss the things that are going on in our school districts across the country. This is, like I said, it's nationwide. One of the fierce groups that we have that have really been fighting hard for educational equity is coming out of Newark. So I find myself sitting in this room with Cory Booker. And when you find yourself in a position, and this is activism, right? This is live and in-person activism.
Mm-hmm.
When you find yourself sitting in a position, and where I'm going to call it a position of privilege, where you can actually have a face-to-face conversation with someone that you know is running for president and is doing detrimental things to communities that look like yours, you either take it, you jump on that opportunity and you stay true to your word and your work.
And you sure did.
I did, because you know what? Black children deserve our hardest fight. Brown children deserve our hardest fight. Actually, all children deserve our hardest fight, but Black and brown children are not getting that. So I approached Cory Booker and I called him on it, and I asked him, I was like, you're into charters, you're supporting them, but we see what's happening in Newark. We understand that charter schools are pretty much rotting, and I'm paraphrasing, pretty much rotting public education. And we've got issues we've got these opportunity zones from the 2017 tax cuts, that Trump, that's it's plan. We've got these social impact bonds and things like that really just set our communities up to be commodified, right? Well, so he didn't want to hear it, right? And
Kandice,
so
let me play that for our audience right now. This is Kandice right here confronting the one and only Senator Cory Booker. Everybody loves that smile. Everybody loves that inspiration. But when confronted by an activist who is involved with what his policies had done in New Jersey and what he would like to do nationally, he didn't take too kindly to it. Check this out.
there was a policy, it was one Newark plan. It closed 12 schools in Black communities. And I understand that you are an advocate for charter schools. So here's the issue that we are facing. We are fighting hard in our city and also in New York because fundamentally charter schools are studying Black and brown communities right now. We've got issues like social impact bonds. We've got issues like when you look at the 2017 tax plan, where creating opportunity zones, what that's actually doing is creating opportunities for white wealthy people to commoditize Black and brown bodies. So they're shutting our schools. They shut them in Newark. Now they're shutting them in Houston. They're shutting them all over. So what I'm asking you right now is, will you stand with public education, denounce the charters? Because at the end of the day, the charters are feeding off of Black and brown children. They are literally feeding off of us. So they are making money by gentrifying our neighborhoods and by shutting our schools. And then we've got real estate developers. After our schools are shut, real estate developers then come in, they take over these prime properties, and then they build high-rise apartments in our communities that we can't afford to live in. And all of this is fundamentally organized around people for charter schools.
So can I respond?
Yeah, I really want to hear your response.
We want to make sure that everyone has a chance to get
Yeah, like right now.
So
Yeah.
I'm inviting you right now to come with Mayor Baraka and me and tour our schools, because you have completely misrepresented the truth of Newark. Hold on. Let me respond. Let me finish responding, then you can respond. If you are a Black kid in Newark, from the time I was mayor till now, your chances of going to a high-performing school went up 400%. Our children now have a chance of going to college. In fact, we're now the #1 school system in all of America for low-income kids going to college.
Right.
We actually have transformed our city's education system from being ranked one of the worst performing urban districts in the state of New Jersey to now one of the best. We literally have had a graduation rate go up 30%. Our African American kids have seen gains in reading and math in the double digits.
Yeah.
Those schools we so-called closed, come to my community right now and see that they're open. The so-called gentrification of our neighborhood, our Black neighborhoods, our parents now are rating their schools, Black parents are rating their schools so much higher in terms of favorability.
Right.
Anyone that wants to come after schools that are educating low-income Black and brown community kids in my school, and by the way, now that our city is growing, our public school system is growing, anybody who wants to come after schools that are educating my kids, they have to come through me. So before you talk about what you don't know, come to the community and visit. Have you visited my schools?
Actually, so I actually work with an organization that actually lives on the south
I'm not
end
talking about
of
the
your
organization,
school.
I'm talking about you. Would you accept my invitation right now? Come to Newark
Absolutely,
and visit
I
my
will.
schools, and then we can talk about my schools.
Not only that,
Yes.
but I'm going to bring the people in that live in Newark
Yes.
that actually are fighting the gentrification and the charter school issues in your community to come with me, because they already told me that you would say these exact things.
Okay, 100%.
But furthermore,
Hold on, let me make a point.
Furthermore,
Because we have to have other people talk.
so you don't want to talk about education?
I want to see that there's a whole bunch of other indivisible people here that want to have a chance to have a conversation too.
But
So let me tell
educating
you right
Black and
now,
brown children
is my fundamental priority. And if you, and I don't care whatever you say about
Okay,
people.
so name a date and we'll be there.
Again, we will discuss the calendar. I don't even know my date, but let's talk to my person. We will find the date.
Yeah, I'm
and you will
gonna,
be there.
so you got it, guys?
Yeah.
Cory Booker is inviting the Newark community that is fighting for education to come and tour these schools that he's talking about.
I'm inviting you.
And I'm gonna take them with me.
I am from my community. I know my community.
And I'm gonna take people from the community with me.
And then I will bring people from the Newark community together, and we can have a larger conversation.
That sounds like a great idea.
All right, and now Kandice, you were really tough on Cory Booker right there, and I think deservedly so. But let me tell you what I was most impressed with, because we understand that a lot of this stuff is staged.
Yes.
You made sure, and you kept your cool. You made sure, and you addressed and attempted to force him to address individual issues, none of which he did.
Right.
All he wanted you to do is, oh, come to my town. And the reason why they like to tell you, oh, come with me, I want you to come, is because you know later on behind where there are no cameras, you will constantly get dates that you cannot meet.
Right. Well, so surprise, Cory Booker. There's a coalition of us, and we're going to meet you. We have your scheduler's information. We will be calling. And the awesome thing about being a part of a national coalition fighting for educational equity is we travel in packs, and there is not any date that Cory Booker can give me that we will not show up at. Now, I'm sure you guys see in the clip where he says, "Well, I'm inviting you," and I said, "Okay, well then I'm going to bring the Newark coalition with me," and he was like, "No, just you." So that's not going to work either. And in case Cory Booker gets to see this, surely you're not going to invite an outsider to come and meet with you and tour your schools versus your very own constituents that you have right now. So we know that what you really meant to say is, I'm inviting my constituents, Candice, and you are more than welcome to join along because, your constituency comes first. And
Well, he didn't mean that. He just wanted to snow you over.
yeah, I know, but he underestimated the power of one woman, a part of a coalition fighting for equity. So we're coming.
Well, now,
Can't wait to see you
Candice,
there, Cory.
I want, people many times think that activists are just out there on the streets shouting, or they're just there
Right.
confronting people without having what I like to call, without having the math behind what they're talking about. The truth of the matter is, we know that we are in truly a neoliberal phase of our society, of our country, and this has
Yes.
nothing to do with Republican or Democrat. I want to
No.
go on a little soliloquy here. We just saw President Obama come out stating that Americans don't really want transformational change. We just heard him come out. I know you're a supporter of Elizabeth Warren, and I think Elizabeth Warren is a great choice. However, he did say that if either Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders were to make it, that then he would come out of hiatus, out of hiding, and attempt to ensure that these candidates don't make it because they're too what? Progressives. What we
Right.
constantly get is the person who said Ronald Reagan was a transformational president in the wrong direction, and he wanted to be a transformational president in the right direction, the one who snowed us on
Right.
hope and change, the one who told us we are who we were looking for, now
Right.
comes and says, if we find ourselves, I am coming to stop you. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, so I have some choice thoughts on that. I'm going to keep it PG though. First of all, like Obama is stay where you are, right? Like we voted for you. Your terms have expired. You stay where you are. Like when we were on his second term and we needed him to come out and swing big, swing hard against Republicans, shutting down everything that he was supposed to be doing for our people, he had no fight. So don't save all your muscle and try to swing against us. It's not going to fare well for you. And the thing about it is like, as far as education goes, I was side-eyeing Obama when he was in office, when he was buddying up to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in this race to the top, trying to attach teacher pay raises to these high stakes tests. Like, don't we have enough? So we're not friends. Sorry, not sorry, but for Barack Obama to think that he has the power over the Black and brown community to shut our voices down is even more of the same problem that we're fighting right now. That is mental disenfranchisement.
It is
what that
mental
is.
slavery.
Exactly. So you
Let's
pretty
call
much-
it what it is, mental
Exactly.
slavery.
Right. And I'm not here for that. I don't care who you are. You are not going to tell us, the people, that what we choose is wrong, and you're going to actively try to undo that and think that you're ever going to be invited in any of our houses again. Like, you can get this smoke, buddy. Like, we're not saving this just for Trump. This is directed to any person that thinks that they know better for us than us. And that is what Barack Obama is trying to do right now. He's really trying to tell us that he can pick a better president for us than we can. Well, you know what, God, we picked you, and you weren't second guessing that. Right?
And interestingly, again, what I said in the post that I wrote earlier or late last night was that it's amazing how much $400,000 can buy.
Thank you.
It's amazing that $400,000. It only takes $400,000 to get rid of hope and change. It only takes $400,000 to say, well, you are not who you're looking for. But let me tell you, Candice, I want to do one last thing here. A lot of people, including in the black, brown, and disadvantaged white communities, have been fed the crap that privatizing schools, charter schools, should somehow work better. Before I ask you to respond, I want to make some quick statements about the privatization of education. We have to take a look at what it does, not only to the kids, but what it does to the economy at large. Private schools, because they are profit-based, what they do is they pay teachers less to ensure that shareholders and executives get big pay. Private schools, charter schools, what they do is they limit the types of educations and the type of kids they take in, because they want, again, to maximize profits. What I'd like you to do is articulate to Americans, and this has to go to the disadvantaged Americans, because a big sell that's been going out there, what they've been trying to sell is, look at what the system has done to you poor people, you poor black and brown people, and even some of you Appalachian people. Look at what the system has done for you. A system that they control, that they purposely make bad, so that the the private companies can come in and make your bodies, as you say, commoditize. You become the widgets, and you say.
So, first of all, I think that, we do need to hit a very big point here in education. Now, what we've got actually are corporations that make money, right? That's their sole objective.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Tons of money, exactly. And the set amount of money that you can make per student is fixed, right? Like, that number is not ever going to change.
Right.
So in order for these companies to make a profit, that puts a child's education in direct opposition to their profit margin. So if they're there to make money, they cannot change how much money they get off of each commodity. That means they're going to decrease the amount of money they spend on each commodity, turning it out into the public. That is why you have things like low teacher pay. You don't certify your teachers, because then you can demand that they get paid less. This is why they want to bust up teacher unions and things like that, because they want to make as much money as they possibly can. And you're only going to get $1,900 per child, no matter what. Not going to change, right? So that needs to always be remembered. As far as the system is working the way it's supposed to work. It has never been built to work in our favor, ever. So what is actually happening is we keep watching our children come out of school. If they're lucky enough to graduate, the value of that diploma is decreasing just as quickly, because you can look at that diploma is that child, right? And don't forget, it's in direct opposition to their profit margin. So the value of that diploma is decreasing. You are spot on when you said, let us not be confused. Poor people are being hit the hardest. And we have been starved of our hope. We have been starved of our imagination. We have been starved out of believing that we actually deserve public education that's equitable and fair and can provide for our children everything that it's supposed to provide. So now we are settled. Okay, so public education isn't going to work. And these people over here are telling us that they can make these charter schools what they should be. They can give us what we need to have. Well, I'm going to go over here to this charter school. That's what people are thinking. I'm not mad at parents that choose charters. We all want what's best for our children. What I challenge parents that are choosing charters is to reimagine education in the way that it should be for your child, in the way that it should be for every child. And let's fight together to get that. If school choice is what you want, fine. Let's get all your choices bundled up and put right back into traditional public education. We can make that happen. We have to fight together to make that happen. So these parents that are like, I want this type of curriculum in my school. I want my teachers in my children's school to look like this. I want them to be educated that way. I want all of these things. That right there is a community, that is a community school. That is a traditional public education community school that they can have. But what that means is you have got to fight the wealthy elitists. All of us poor and working class people have got to band together, fight the wealthy elitists so they stop making money off of these nonprofits. Okay, they stop making money off of these charter schools, and all of that money then goes back into public education. Nonprofits, they're like, it's like a worm, right? And it just comes in and it feeds off of you. So in public education, because we're underfunded, we're losing these resources, right? We're losing technology, like where we can buy new computers, or we can bring in new innovative ways to teach our kids how to read and, stuff like that, or do math in new different ways and focus on STEM for our working class and poor kids. Well, so in charter schools, what they actually do is they reach out to these nonprofits who specialize in STEM, they specialize in literacy, they specialize in math and all of that. So these charter schools then pay these nonprofits. I mean, the racket, guys, it's crazy, right? So they pay these nonprofits to come in and teach these new skills because that's what the parents want, right? Like that's why we're leaving public education, because they're not teaching these skills. We're losing these resources. So then these nonprofits come in, they teach these new skills, but these nonprofits are the friends of the people that own the charters.
Right.
And the charters are the same entities that are taking the money out of public education. So do you see the scam? That's why we say school choice is a scam, right? And then, I mean, I'm not even going to get into the whole financial cascade, because it is like a horrible cascade when you get down this dark hole of dark money. I mean, it would make you feel like you're in the middle of a conspiracy theory. But the truth is, it is so incredibly tied. These things are so tied to each other. It's quite disgusting. This protest that happened at Elizabeth Warren's speech at Clark University. I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but that was actually funded by the Walton Foundation.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, the Walton Foundation flew these parents from all over the country, brought them to Clark University. These Black and brown parents brought them to Clark University for them to then protest at Elizabeth Warren's rally, because we've talked to Elizabeth Warren and we're like, this is how we feel about education. These are the things that we need you to be on board with to get our support. So those things are untoward up to the charter industry. So now the people at Walmart who don't even want to pay Black and brown people a fair wage, don't want to give them enough hours to where they can actually get full-time benefits, don't want to give you health insurance, all of a sudden going to spend $1,000 a ticket to fly you over to Atlanta. I mean, come on, guys. Let's put this together. They're not doing it because they care about our children's education. If they cared about our children at all, they would pay their parents a fair wage. They would provide health insurance. They would pay their fair share of taxes into our school districts so we would have the funds that we need. They care about the commodity, and the commodity is the Black and brown and poor children in America.
That is so powerful. Let me tell you one of the reasons I wanted you here as well, and I'm glad that you touched on healthcare. I'm glad that you touched on wages, etc. Because what's going on right now, Kandice, is the plutocracy, the wealthy, they are making the case now on every one of the progressive issues that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are pushing. They're attacking it, and they're using psychological warfare to do so. And what we need, we don't have the monies that the ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC that they control. This is what we have. The networks. There's something called geometric progressions. We must use our networks to get your face, to get your message and the message of others like you out there who are there to counter what they are doing right now. So I want to thank you so kindly for appearing on Politics Done Right. I want to thank you
for
so
having me.
kindly for the work that you do, because let me tell you, without that work, they would be running rag shots over us like anything else. So we need what you do. So thank you so kindly. Kandice Webber, one of Houston's most active activists who is on board with education. Thank you so kindly, Kandice.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that was Kandice Webber, one of, like I said, Houston's activists. What I'm going to do right now is go to the boards and talk to some of what you guys have been writing while we played that. Lee Grant said, or let me see if I go before Lee Grant. Rose Williams says, Obama's comments about not supporting progressives, all of the three voting age generations in my family voted for him twice. I am deeply disappointed, as you should be. Sam Clark DeBrell says corporate Cory, he called him corporate Cory, and then gave us a link to the open secrets to see where he gets his donations from. And he gave a hashtag, Big Pharma Booker. Okay. Errol Guinas, hello, welcome aboard, Errol. Let's see, Lee Grant says, and this comment from Lee Grant needs some explanation. The problem with inner city Houston schools is not who controls them or amount of funding. It has more to do with fatherless and breakdown of families and the undisciplined, disrespectful children this produces. Deal with this, otherwise you're just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. You know, what is interesting is, Lee, what you're saying has some merit. How you are saying it doesn't give the necessary empathy for those people in that condition. What I mean by that is you don't get the genesis of why these kids are fatherless. You don't get the genesis of the systemic, that in these communities, it's either systemic racism or systemic poverty that creates that problem. So you can't solve that problem by saying, okay, they're fatherless and they're disrespectful, fix the disrespect and fix the fatherlessness, and then the problem is solved. No, you have to solve the problem that created the fatherlessness or that destroyed the family unit. You have to fix the problem that heals poverty. There's a lot to fix. I'll give you some examples that conservatives went against, that if they had been thinking empathetically, they would see it. We know that, yes, in certain inner cities, there's a problem with kids having getting the discipline that they need or supervision that they need. When President Clinton came out with something called midnight basketball, conservatives look at it as a joke. Oh, that was funny, because they couldn't understand that what these guys were doing, they were going to pick people up off the streets that are out there maybe doing no good and give them a reason to come and do something. And in the process of doing something they like to do, impart some discipline and other things in on them. But no, we couldn't see thinking outside of the box or thinking outside of the framework of the particular unit we think we have. But then you go to Appalachia, and you see the same things, but you don't see it on TV. So what I'm trying to tell you, Brother Lee Grant, is expand the vision. Expand what you're seeing. It's not that what you're seeing or what you just wrote to me wasn't correct. I would be a fool to look and say, oh, Lee Grant, look at what he's talking about. No, I understand what you're saying, and there is some merit. Now, when we look at what Daniel Ledo has to say, that just comes from a place of malice. So true, Lee. Fix black culture first. There ain't a damn thing called black culture as you would like to define it. And that's the issue. Daniel, that is the issue with you. When you talk about something like that, oh, change black culture, that shows an intrinsic carnality in what you're thinking, how you think. It tells you something about you. Because black culture is a great culture. Different Asian cultures are great cultures. Different European cultures are great cultures. They all have their portions of infringement that are damaging to themselves under the appropriate circumstances. let's get a mind of, let's try to teach ourselves to think logically and not from a false carnality expanded by leaders who want to control you by instilling hate in you. Rose Williams, Candice, you got a good reward for, kudos from Rose, Candice. You're so right, Rose. Lee, you see this in poor white communities also. No one has a monopoly of the. Oh wow, you beat me to the answer, Rose. And that's what I try to tell you. The dynamic is a socioeconomic dynamic, and what happens is we see the black ones on TV, but we don't see the Appalachian white ones on TV. That somehow never shows up, and when you see that happens, that becomes a problem. So I mean, we have to understand where that is coming from. Okay. Anyhow, let me continue. We have Daniel Ledoa says, I notice you reference your people. Just who are they? My people are the American people. Somehow, I suspect yours are more narrowly defined, race-based most likely. The person that defines things most by race, Daniel, is you. I mean, you come on my show all the time, and I welcome you, and I thank you for being here, because sometimes I hope to deprogram you, but you come to the show all of the times, and I think you're one of the most racially insensitive people that come to the show. But that's okay, because I hope that other people are out here, as they talk to you, and you see that you are really in a vocal minority, that most people are in fact good, that you'll improve on who you are. Lee Grant says, yours is a popular response to this problem, but there's a distinct pathology in black communities. For example, 50% of violent crimes in the U.S. is a product of black criminals. Saying that white people do this will help no one. I'm glad that you said that. That is, first of all, that statistic is false. BS in, BS out. What do I mean by that? You go ahead, and the way these statistics come about is who has the first contact with police officers, and then what's turned in to the FBI. First of all, I live in a white community, Kingwood. When a lot of these kids get into troubles or whatever, what happens many times is the police officers take them home or slap them on the wrist, and they go their way. In communities of color, what happens then is they go to jail and a record gets created. And that creates a whole new cascade, because a record gets created, you get into jail, or you have some sort of a record, you can't get employment. The thing that happens to unemployed people, the things that happen to poor people, the things that you see in Appalachia is just magnified. It's just magnified in the black and brown communities because of systemic racism. It's hard for you to understand, Lee Grant, maybe because of a choice not to want to believe what we're telling you is happening out there. I know it's popular not to want to believe this, but white privilege is true. As Rose Williams, my friend, just told you, you have the white men get into trouble many times. They don't get charged. You don't get charged. You don't have a record made out there in the FBI. I mean, it's not something that's not known. These are things that are known. And for people who are really interested in finding out whether they're true or not, just a little bit of reading, just a little bit of research from people away from the Heritage Foundation or other racist organizations would help. Just try. Come on, guys. You guys are better than that. But anyhow, we are coming close to the end of the show, and I need to close this baby out. My name is Egberto. Oh, before I go, I want to tell you, I got a t-shirt out that I want you guys to check out, man. Go to store.politicsdoneright.com, store.politicsdoneright.com. Here is my new t-shirt. It's Donald Trump on his knees asking Nancy Pelosi, please don't impeach me, Nancy. Please don't impeach me. So check out, I have a new t-shirt out there. Other ways to raise funds for the show. First of all, I'd like you to go ahead and go to store.politicsdoneright.com. You can actually access that too directly from our website. So please do remember to go to politicsdoneright.com. If you want to be a subscriber of the show, help us promote good messages. Help us make sure that the lies that Daniel Ledoux and Lee Grant gets in their other media. Because remember, I am happy to have Daniel Ledoux. I'm happy to have Lee Grant and many of the conservatives that are frequent my show. I love you guys. And my expectation is that sometimes some of the messages here you will be able to take to your own conservative communities after you've verified what I've said. You can verify everything that I said without the shadow of a doubt. So check out store.politicsdoneright.com and get that t-shirt, man. Get that t-shirt, store.politicsdoneright.com, with Donald Trump on his knees begging Nancy Pelosi not to impeach him. Anyhow, folks, and if you want to subscribe to the show, which I need you to subscribe to the show, go to politicsdoneright.com and click on Patreon to become a subscriber, or any one of the others. Anyhow, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this bib. Wow. My name is Egberto Willies. You know how I end this baby on Politics Done Right. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.